Well, Rachel, we survived 2024 NHL All-Star Weekend presented by Rogers. we survived. We're here. I like doing my announcer voice. It's fun. But we survived. I'm not going to... I'm exhausted. That weekend tuckered me out. I don't know about you.
My social battery is so dead. I have Super Bowl this week that I have to do stuff for. And I'm like, I don't even want to speak to anybody. Like yesterday, first of all, I got home at 5 a.m. On Sunday morning. So I slept until, I think I texted our boy Johnny Lazarus at like 1:30 that I got out of bed. And he's like, hey! But it was fun. Like we did a ton of stuff. We went to, between the two of us, we went behind the scenes with Connor Bedard in Sherwood. Mm-hmm. That was super cool. You can check out that video. It's on our socials. Connor Bedard talked about his diet, the Olympics. Like, first of all, I got to watch him rip pucks from about 2 feet away. Mm-hmm. You could lose an eye if that thing hits the bar and hits you. You got to ask Will Arnett about Batman. Michael Bublé was on shrooms.
It was very funny watching that occur in real time because it was kind of like, I'm not sure if have you ever seen the movie The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco? It was the movie about them assassinating Kim Jong-un.
North Korea? Yes, because that caused like a huge thing, didn't it?
It almost brought like a terrorist attack it was crazy.
Awesome.
But I'm not sure at the start of the movie, there like the whole thing is that James Franco is a like a talk show host, like Ryan Seacrest kind of thing.
Right.
And he's got Eminem on the show. And he's like, Eminem, like, all your lyrics, like, do they mean? He's like, yeah, well, when, I rap about hating my mom, it's because hating my mom's when I rap about, like, loving my daughter, it's loving my daughter. When I rap about, hating gay people, it's because I'm gay, that kind of stuff. And people are like, wait a second, what? Like, people are like, wait, Eminem did he just really
Excuse me?
And so it was like that in the like, in sort of the scrum, because Bublé is just talking and he's just like, yeah, and I thought someone gave me a microdose that I thought was a microdose, so I was just like zooted basically. And then he just keeps going on. People were like, wait.
Did he just say he was on mushrooms?
Wait, hold on. Like, can we back that up, Michael, please? Can we a bit of a follow up to that? Like, it was very
Hi,
funny.
yes. All of a sudden, like 10 hands go up. They're like, just a quick follow up on that.
Follow up on that one, please. No, but it was great. Yeah, we got to go behind the scenes on media day and pretty much any time there were scrums. Yeah, it was awesome, man. Like, personally, it felt good being back at a rink.
I met Gritty.
You met Gritty.
I got a big hug.
You got a big hug. You got a POV hug. I saw that.
I got a POV hug. It was pretty cool. And I saw Finn. Shout out Finn, the Canucks.
Yeah.
Carlton gave me a big hug. Basically, like the mascot. And NJ Devil, my man.
Yeah.
I will never forget the day that he broke a gymnastics facility. He actually went into a gymnastics facility and ran so hard into like the glass or whatever that it shattered it.
Incredible. So last year, we'll talk briefly about All-Star Weekend, obviously, because we were both there. I was behind the scenes media side. Rachel's behind the scenes fan side. So I was at the All-Star game last year covering it. And it was, first of all, as we were walking to last year, the mascots were lined up waiting to go out on the rink for their mascot game. And which
is one of the best parts of the game. Yeah.
And we were walking down, and I was walking down with maybe like 2 or 3 other people to like the media room. And to get to the media room, you had to pass this lineup of mascots, and they were giving people high fives and stuff. And like I went to go give Bowie a high five, and he put me in a headlock and started giving me like a noogie. And then all of the other mascots converged and started like hitting me with their like sort of plush hands or whatever. So I just got like sort of I got like gang beat by a bunch of mascots. That was fun. But the contrast between last year's All-Star game and All-Star Weekend just in general and this year's All-Star Weekend could not have been night and day. And Rachel, it pains me. I regret to inform you that this All-Star Weekend was actually very good.
So naturally, they're not doing an All-Star game next year.
For the next 3 years, basically.
Okay, so I want we're gonna do some All-Star like cut or uncut, some wrap ups, but it's gonna be specifically on our socials. We're gonna start.
Be on our OnlyFans. Yeah.
What? But yeah, check out our TikToks, our Instagram. We're gonna do some cut or uncut. Mm-hmm. It'll go on YouTube. as we wrap up NHL All-Star Weekend. But as promised, we are doing our deep dive into the Columbus Blue Jackets.
What I wanted to give a shout out to is Tate McRae.
Absolutely.
Seeing
the Justin Bieber performance was
pretty cool. I'm not sure if you people, and I'm sure if you're listening to Hockey Wise, I could be getting this somewhat wrong, but I did my research. But I'm not sure if you all know the story of Tate McRae and why she's here, basically.
If you don't know what it is,
she was dating.
It is pinned to my TikTok.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, as well, is that it kind of ties into our deep dive. She's dating a fella on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and she's from Calgary, and this fella did a lot of his junior hockey in Lethbridge.
Yep.
So you would think that they would meet. They're both the same age, about 20, which is children. It's crazy.
Tate McRae's 20.
Tate McRae is 20.
She's my brother's age.
20
This is a baby.
Can you imagine your brother just absolutely slaying on stage at like the NHL All-Star game?
Absolutely not. My brother lit himself on fire 2 weeks ago. Actually, he didn't light himself on fire. Somebody accidentally lit him on fire.
That's just guys being dudes, though. All right.
It's all fun and games until you are literally on fire.
So apparently...
So suffice it to say no.
Yes. So apparently someone, one of Tate's single friends, was on Tinder and went, "Hey, that's weird. I see a profile for my friend's boyfriend."
Oh, Have you ever had that situation happen to you?
No. Thankfully, I have.
I have.
That. Yeah. Thankfully, I have not had that.
It wasn't my boyfriend, to be clear.
I haven't dealt that.
I found somebody's significant other on there, and I was like, it was Hinge, and I was like, "Fancy seeing you here." ... That profile went away so fast. Not before the screenshots, which I guarantee you is what her friend did.
Exactly. Well, yeah, 100%. And so sends it to Tate, and turns out that this fella had been philandering outside.
He had like Tinder Premium, I heard too. So not only was he on Tinder, he was paying for it.
Brutal. That's brutal.
And by the way, if you're on Tinder, you're also on Raya, which is like the famous person dating app.
Yeah, I know.
Or like the influencer content creator, like whatever it is. So if he's paying for Tinder Premium, he's 100% on Raya as well. He should have just stuck to
Raya, because Raya doesn't let you screenshot or screen record. Like, it's supposed to be for like, or else people will be like, I remember.
Yeah, you can get banned, but like I've seen TikToks. Full disclosure, I was on it. I've seen people basically like they'll have it like on their phone and they'll use their iPad or whatever, or they'll like just record a TikTok on like a camera like this.
There's only so many things you can do, but like it just makes it's just one step. Yeah,
because I keep seeing stories of like Lando Norris, Louis Capaldi.
Yeah. Well, like I think the thing that kicked off the whole screen recording and screenshotting ban is someone like sort of
someone's a Lewis Hamilton on it.
I remember it was really random. Someone made like a TikTok about their conversation with Ben Affleck on it back when he was in between Ana de Armas and Jennifer Lopez. And at that point they were just like, no, we need to make sure like all the celebrities are going to leave if they realize we can just like screen record it. But anyway, so obviously it turns out that he'd been cheating for a little bit, cheating for a while.
Imagine you're in the NHL, you think you're a big shot. You're dating a
to be fair,
superstar.
And look, not to be fair, but I mean, like, she wasn't like as much of a superstar when they were dating as she is now.
But she was still a bigger star than he was.
She was still a bigger star than him, and also like we all saw that performance, like fumble of the century. And I say that, look, I'm not one to talk whatever, but oh my god, like come on, talent, but also like come on, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And like anyway. I was out 2 nights during All-Star, and she was at the same place, and I saw her.
She's insane. Like
she took time to take photos with every single person that came up to her. Like Kid Leroy wanted to leave because they're like a thing now. Upgrade.
Another person that's more famous than
Cole Cylinder.
Oh, okay. I didn't say it, but and so what she did kind of is she's from Calgary, so she likes hockey, and she also was like, I'm gonna make the entire aesthetic of my next album and like era, I guess,
the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Just hockey, like just,
but also blue.
Yes, like blue hockey to the point where like I will be like, my music video is in a hockey rink. My album
I'm
cover
on a Zamboni.
My album cover is me wearing goalie pads backwards, but still. And like, I'm going to be performing at the All-Star game. I'm going to be a captain, like an All-Star captain. They're going to be doing to the point.
Shout
where,
out to the NHL though for actually like hopping on this and being like, we need to have a partnership here.
One sec, like so basically, it's almost as if, let's say you were, I don't know, like an accountant or whatever, and you cheated on your
spit it out,
and you cheated on your boyfriend, and so to get back at you, your boyfriend was like, I'm gonna become like the face of accounting. Like every poster that you see in like the break room about accounting protocols, I'm gonna be on it. I'm gonna make like all this stuff, like to the point where at every accounting conference, I'm gonna be performing at it. So it's like, so you
did
cannot
you
escape
see the TSN when Columbus was playing the Leafs?
Mm-hmm.
And
oh yeah, I saw it.
And TSN was doing the broadcast, and I know who was producing
they were playing greedy.
They were playing greedy as they cut away from the game. And then it was like multiple Tate McRae songs, and I was like, whoever is doing this,
well, also
10 out of 10.
Like,
well done.
The in-arena person like played like X's, and I'm pretty sure the camera like panned to Cole Cylinder, like just stuff like that.
It's incredible.
So like you play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
You know who's also playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes?
They haven't won anything. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Well, they won the stupid prize of their prized prospect wanting to leave.
So what we decided to do, Rachel, is it's the talk of the town these days, how bad the Columbus Blue Jackets are. Not just on the ice, but off the ice. They've made a lot of missteps, and this kind of goes back. You could really bring this all the way back to like the Doug McClain era, if you wanted to. Like the original Columbus Blue Jackets. Talk about, Nikita Filatov and Nikolai Zherdev and guys like that. But instead, we're gonna wind the clocks back about 24 months or so. No, 18 months. 2022 off season. Because boy oh boy, I think it's time for us to talk about that. The Columbus Blue Jackets are in a free fall. Like I said, both on and off the ice, and we gotta basically what occurs now is David Jiricek, and we'll get into this a bit more later. David Jiricek, 6th overall pick in 2022. He's an absolute stud defenseman. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He can play both ends of the ice. He can move the puck, this, that, the other. He's he's arguably the best defense prospect in the game, I would say. One of them.
Yes.
Who would you rate higher than him? How many names would you put higher than him in terms of defense prospects?
Off the top of my head, Lane Hudson.
Above him?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. That might be it.
Yeah, so he's in the top.
Like he's ahead of Axel Sandin Pellikka.
He's ahead of Zellweger, you think, like ahead of Matejchuk.
Ooh. Okay. Yes, he's ahead of Matejchuk. Zellweger. I would actually, and I have Mintyukov ahead of him as well. Mintyukov's in the NHL right now, so is Zellweger, but they've only also played like 10 games.
It's also not Jiricek's fault that he's not in the NHL right now.
Right.
As we will.
He is in the echelon of guys that are like Simon Nemec is in the NHL. Zellweger, Mintyukov. Lane Hudson is coming out after this year.
So David Jiricek is let's say he's in the echelon of potential franchise defenseman. A guy you build your blue line around. I think he is.
Yes,
yes.
We're talking like
a Drew Doughty, Victor Hedman. Like you put him at the top.
I was gonna say a Victor Hedman type.
And you just leave, you can leave it there for the next 10, 15 years, and as long as you build around him, you'll be fine.
Right. He's not offensive in the same way that like an Adam Fox is, or anything like that. But we're talking about a defenseman that, like, face it, wins games. Like you need a cornerstone. When he was really, really good, Seth Jones is the example.
Before, pre-washed Seth Jones, basically. Now, I've seen, I'm not a big prospects guy, and I know that I'm buying into a little bit of the I would say, bias of the World Juniors when it comes to evaluating prospects. We talked about that when we talked to Scott Wheeler over the break, where it's no one will watch these prospects during their actual season, but they'll take these 5-6 games in the World Juniors as gospel on what they are. But let me tell you, I was at the World Juniors. I was covering it in Halifax last year. And David Juracek took that Czech team and friggin' put them on his back and carried them to the gold medal game where Canada beat them, I believe, in overtime. Like David Juracek was a stud. He led that team. And if he can do that in the NHL, boy oh boy, whichever team has him, might not be Columbus, is going to be great. Now,
but I also think when you're talking about a defenseman like that, like, yes, he's good offensively.
Development is so important. Developing
defensemen, and this is why Anaheim has been elite at it for so long, is there's no yo-yoing happening. Olin Zellweger, you're going to stay your butt down there until you are absolutely ready to come up. And then when you come up, it's because we've now traded Jamie Drysdale out because you're ready. And so Anaheim does such a great job that they're able to trade Sammy Vatanen, trade Hampus Lindholm, and just continue to have players coming up. Columbus is doing the opposite. Trading out Seth Jones, getting in Adam Boquist, so they're getting the young players, and then they're like not even playing them. Like Nick Blankenberg came from Michigan,
yes,
signed, played with them last year. Now he's in the AHL. He's got like 12 points in 19 games, and he's not even the best one. No, but instead we're gonna block all this. We have Corson Ceulemans, Denton Mateychuk, and obviously they're not ready yet. Mm-hmm. But did you need to sign?
Well, hey, no spoilers yet, Rachel.
No, but what I'm saying is like if you look at what they've done. Mm-hmm. Did you need to sign a bunch of guys to contracts that are going to block?
You clearly didn't. But let's start at the beginning and where the downfall really occurred. Because the offseason 2022 was supposed to be a momentous, a joyous occasion for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Because the top free agent on the market, Johnny Gaudreau, middle of his prime, coming off a 115-point season. Incredible. He comes in, he hits the market. And he's expected to be pursued by these big markets, New Jersey, Philly, all these other, pretty much everyone in that New York area. Apparently Calgary rolled out the red carpet for him, was offered him a massive amount of money trying to keep this guy. He says, no, I'm going to Columbus, Ohio. And you know what? A player of his caliber, in the prime of his career, signing what will 1,000% be the most lucrative contract of his career and one of the most lucrative free agent contracts we've seen since in the salary cap era. Choosing to do that with the Columbus Blue Jackets is a massive deal, and a massive deal to that franchise.
Well, because they've had people leave, like Panarin left, Bobrovsky left, Rick Nash
Duchesne,
left.
They acquired him,
and he was like, "Yo, I'm out."
He was like, "I'm gone. I am gone." Pretty much everyone who has meant something to them really has left. And
to be fair, Rick Nash was there pretty much the entire time, except for when he was like, okay, I want to try and win.
He's like, I kind of want to do stuff.
But now he did sign a long-term deal. So like
he intended to be there. And when it just became clear that wasn't happening, he was then like, all right, guys, like I need
he's like, I'm out.
And so that was a big deal. But then they followed that up on the same day, basically, by signing Eric Branson, who's coming off a good season in Calgary, but a good season in this Eric Branson deal.
I was in Vancouver when this happened.
Yes, you were still there.
The looks on the faces of we were like we got word. We're like, okay, Columbus has signed Eric Branson. We started taking bets around the table.
Be like a $925K, maybe.
So
maybe
one of the AGMs was like, it's gonna be more, but anything more than $2 million is insane. Then it came down that it was 4 years, and the look on everyone's face, we were like, whoa.
$4 million for the term and for the money.
So originally, terms 4 years. So then I saw on Twitter, because I was like keeping track of everything, I was like, oh, it's 4 years, $4 million. And they were like, oh, only $1 million a year? And I said, per year. Okay. The looks on the faces of everyone in management, like utterly stunned.
I can't imagine.
Stunned.
Which makes it seem, and this could be proven wrong by another team coming forward, but it makes it seem like the Blue Jackets were kind of bidding against themselves on this one. I can't imagine that there was a bidding war for Eric Branson at that
Okay,
stage.
so we knew that there were a few teams that were interested.
Yeah.
Right? For we also needed defensemen.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we got like Riley Stillman.
Oh yeah, fixed it.
But so like, yeah, Goodbranson was a guy that had interest, especially given how our management group wanted to play. But we got priced out after like 1.75. We were like, yeah, no, we're not going higher than that. And like, good thing too.
Pretty good thing. Now, so they signed Eric Branson, and this, I never want to compare Daryl Sutter to Bill Belichick here, but they both have very specific systems of play.
Yes.
And we see from the Belichick Patriots all the time is a player will thrive in their system, come in as like a fifth rounder or whatever, or a reclamation project will come to New England. They will thrive in that system for a year or two, and then they hit free agency. Another team will give them a ton of money, and it turns out, man, outside of Belichick, looks like they're not that great. Goodbranson basically did the same thing, but in a Daryl Sutter system where he was on the last legs of Sanchel's career. He was getting sent down.
Yeah.
Know? And he goes to Calgary, and based on how Daryl Sutter, wants his defenses to play, Eric Goodbranson thrived in that role. Everyone was like, whoa, crazy. And so instead of kind of looking at that and going, okay, very specific system kind of player, do we play that same system? No, we don't. Maybe that might depend on how much we pay him. Columbus went big man, did all right in this system, 4x4. And that trade, the trickle down.
Yeah, like you traded
effect.
Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Hey. Spoilers, Rachel.
That's what they made the trade for.
Because they got up against the cap, they then had to trade. They then had to shed some salary. So they had to trade a player. Now whomst could they trade?
Certainly not a guy that would lead their team in scoring right now were he on the roster.
And also, they had to trade that player. Like, teams knew that they had to get rid of someone. It wasn't a hockey move. It was a dump. And in salary dumps, you get very little back. And who did they trade, Rachel?
Oliver Bjorkstrand.
For what?
A third and a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
So you traded, just so we're totally clear here. Mm-hmm. Oliver Bjorkstrand is not having a great season. He has 40 points in 50 games. Like,
that's a pretty good season for.
No. I'm talking in the scale of like
his own career, kind of.
No. Like in the league.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's not
generally speaking.
He's not an elite guy.
Exactly.
No.
He would lead the Columbus Blue Jackets in scoring by 8 points this year because their leading scorer is Johnny Gaudreau, and he has 32 points. 32.
In 50 games?
I believe so.
So
they're 10th. They have a guy on their team that was just sent to the All-Star game, and I have to assume it's because Johnny Gaudreau said he didn't want to.
Well, I have to assume that players 1 through 9 said no.
Right. I mean, like, Fantilli would have been the obvious selection, but he got hurt. Right? But, like...
Yeah.
Can you Boo Jenner has 18 points.
Yeah, he was their representative. Can you run Johnny Gaudreau in your model? Would that take too long?
Why, yes.
Did you already do it, or did you? Oh,
no, I haven't done it yet, but I can.
Could you please do current Johnny? Are you able to run past Johnny Gaudreau as well, or just current?
I can't do past right now.
Okay, so just run current Johnny Gaudreau. We all know how good Johnny Gaudreau was in coming into free agency. His 115 point season. I would like to see what his comparables and everything are now, less than 2 years in the Columbus. Anyway. And so they choose Oliver Bjorkstrand as their salary dump. I believe he was making somewhere in the range of 3.4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not good.
Yeah, I know. So hold on, we'll do it.
Oh no.
So they trade him instead. What they could have done instead, and obviously markets change and all that, because they also had Gustav Nyquist on their roster, and people could go,
objectively a worse player.
Yes, and who made more? He made $5.5 million at that point.
He what?
I believe yes.
No, that's crazy.
Well, because he had a really good season before free agency.
They dumped Oliver Bjorkstrand to keep Gustav Nyquist, who was making over $5 million.
So, yeah.
Oh, my God. That should get you fired.
And so, you know what? Let me
read you Johnny Gaudreau's comparisons right now.
While I make sure that he was making 5.5.
Okay, so they're not, these are all good hockey players. However, when you're making the amount of money Johnny Gaudreau is making, these are not players you want to be compared to. Johnny Gaudreau, Matt Zuccarello, Jamie Benn, Vladimir Tarasenko, Evander Kane, and Jonathan Huberdeau. Extremely funny that Jonathan Huberdeau is on that list.
Bruh. Yes,
Those are not players. Like, Tarasenko's on a 1-year deal, makes like a few $1 million. Zuccarello is 30 million years old. Yeah. Jeff Skinner
was once exposed in an expansion draft and not taken. Now, I would say, like,
Jamie Benn is
old.
Yeah.
Look,
this is bad.
These are all good players. Not, I think none of them, even Jamie Benn, don't make over $9 million a year. 9.5, I think, is what Gaudreau's making. Now, yeah, I just made sure to check it, to triple check it, just because it's an outlandish sum. Yes, Gustav Nyquist was making $5.5 million a year. Now, markets can change, right? Like, trade markets can change, they can soften, whatever. But you're not trading at the asset you're wanting to get back in return for this trade asset that you are sending out the door is cap space. You don't really care about the draft picks that are coming back. You'd like some, because you technically have to trade something for something.
Can I read you Oliver Bjorkstrand's comparisons?
Yeah, hit me.
This is fun. Oliver Bjorkstrand's comparisons are Alex Tuck, Troy Terry, Drake Batherson, Jordan Kyrou, and Nick Suzuki. Like, Nick Suzuki is the lowest on that list there, but
you put any of those players on Columbus right now, they're a much better team.
Well, yeah. Alex Tuck, top-line player. Troy Terry, top-line player. Drake Batherson, depending on the night.
Middle six.
Middle
to top six.
Oh, Cole Caulfield's on there, too. We're talking about a young player that's a sniper. Like,
you're talking about the greatest, like the greatest player to score 50 goals who's never scored 50 goals. Cole Caulfield.
But, okay, so you're Columbus.
You decide to trade Bjorkstrand. And keep in mind, so Nyquist, like I said, when you're doing a salary dump, you're not the value you're getting from trading this person. It's not really the draft picks you're getting in return. It's the cap space that it frees up. I believe Oliver Bjorkstrand was making 3.5, I believe, or 3.4, 3.5 when he got dealt. You had Gustav Nyquist on your roster, who was making 5.5 million at the time. Now people could say, Mike, who would have taken Gustav Nyquist?
So I love that you pointed this out. I can't run Gustav Nyquist, but you traded Oliver Bjorkstrand and his $3.2 million because you signed a defenseman whose comparables this season are...
This is Erica Branson?
Connor Murphy.
Incredible.
Radko Gudas.
Amazing.
Cody Ceci.
Oh, yeah.
And good. Nick Jensen.
Not good.
Would you rather have somebody who's more closely compared to Cole Caulfield and Jordan Kyrou and Alex Tuck, or somebody compared to Radko Gudas, Josh Manson, and Cody Ceci?
Wow. There's also some, and we'll add
and
this.
Connor Murphy.
Yeah,
10 out of 10.
That's actually better than I thought it would be. Like, I thought Erica Branson's comparables would be like, I'm trying to think of the worst defenseman I can think of. I don't know. I thought those are more, at least NHL regular names. Better. But anyway.
Yes, but none of them are.
Yeah. So you have we're still in this. You have Gustav Nyquist, and he's making $5.5 million a year. Instead of using him as the cap dump, you trade Oliver Bjorkstrand. Now, people could go, Mike, they wouldn't be able to know who would have taken Gustav Nyquist at that point. And I go, decent idea. Well, do you think his market softened a little bit after he was ruled out for the rest of the regular season due to injury on February 1st last year? I would say so. And yet still the Columbus Blue Jackets were able to trade him to the Minnesota Wild for a 5th-round pick.
I lied. I can run Gustav Nyquist, and I just did.
Yep.
His comparables this season are not horrendous.
But this is this season.
Right. Well, it takes into account like seasons past, but this season's more heavily weighted.
I want to know what is compared. Like if this model existed in 2022, I wanted you to run it at that point to see like what he was like.
Oh, see, no, I would have to do like a whole block of coding that I'm not going to do right now. But like Gustav Nyquist's comparables this year, and like just generally speaking, Adam Henrique, Mikhail Granlund, Braden Shen, Sean Monahan. So it's actually not too bad.
You can get a 1st-round pick for him. Based on Sean Monahan, you can get a 1st-round pick for this guy.
Right? So it's not horrendous. But that is you simply just did not need to sign Eric Goodbranson. Like, that was...
So that was...
Especially if you were going to then make the other trades we're now going to talk about.
So that was kind of the tipping point. Because then during the Cup final last year, the Blue Jackets make 2 big trades. They make one sort of sign-in trade, and this is a good thing. It was a sign-in trade with the Devils for Damon Severson. So Damon Severson, yes, he's hurt, but he is a good player who can very much help them. The other one they made, though, is for Ivan Provorov. Now, Ivan Provorov is not good on or off the ice, I would say.
After last season, the fact that... And it was a 3-way trade, remember, because Sean Walker and Cal Peterson. Philadelphia is now going to probably get like a first-round pick for Sean Walker.
Yeah, they will.
Like,
if Sean Monahan can get a first-round pick, Sean Walker can get a first-round pick.
Yeah, like it's...
So they trade for Provorov. They didn't need him. He was bad, but they traded for him. He's on their roster, and now they're looking to trade him again.
I'm shocked.
A couple days later, basically, and after rumors that preceded even the Ivan Provorov acquisition, they hire Mike Babcock. Mike Babcock, who had been out of the league for the last 3-4 years. Mike Babcock.
Why? What happened?
Nothing bad. Because he had been proven time and time again to be one of the most detestable people in the sport of hockey. Someone who drove players to nervous breakdowns, who would do petty things like keep Mike Modano from hitting 1,500 career games for no reason. No reason. Stuff like sitting Jason Spezza out during his the home opener when he signed in Toronto for literally league minimum to help win them in his hometown, to help them win a Stanley Cup, things like that. Oh, by the way, he was scratched for Nick Shore, whereas Nick Shore now not in the NHL. Fuck you, Mike Babcock. So they hire Mike Babcock, and in the press conference, despite everyone pretty much telling them not to do this,
literally, the rumors started the first week of June. And they didn't announce it till July 1st because
they had to stop, because the Leafs had to stop paying his contract.
Exactly.
And so
the entire month of June, people were like, "This is a bad idea."
The entire press conference. It's always good that when you hire a coach, and the entire press conference is centered around how have you changed as a person from your last coaching stint, so you will never do that again. And the entire press conference, Mike Babcock and the management group kept saying, I've changed, I've done this, I've done that, done this, mental health, it's important, blah, blah, blah. Mike Babcock didn't make it to the first informal practice.
Did not make it to training camp.
The first thing he did.
I made it to training camp.
Yes, at least you made it to training camp. You hire this guy, and literally the first thing he does after you hire him, he basically stepped off the podium for this. When he meets the players that he's going to coach, is he pulls some bullshit like show me the pictures in your phone, which we've talked about at length. In that it's just, first of all, it's a gross invasion of someone's privacy in any workplace, but second of all, there's a lot that goes in there, potentially even, if there's a player that's closeted in the NHL that doesn't want that known.
It was just not...
It's psychopath stuff that has no reason to exist, no reason to have been done, and he was basically blacklisted from the NHL until this poverty franchise could pick him up, which is the only reason they could pick him up in the first place, by the way. They went name brand because no other team is going to touch this guy, so we went, might as well hire Mike Babcock. He'll sell tickets. But the first chance he has to show that he's changed, he shows that he hasn't. He does the exact same thing that got him blacklisted from the NHL for the last 3 years. He doesn't make it to the first practice.
So then, Pascal Vincent.
So they have to scramble because, keep in mind, remember, this happened like right before training camp.
4 days before training
exactly.
camp.
And so you would know, being on an NHL coaching staff and in the front office, is that the planning for training camp, that's a summer.
Oh my God.
That's a summer of work. That's a summer of seminars. That's a summer of
meetings,
PowerPoint presentations, scheduling, events, this, that, the other. You have to, you not only do you fire your guy, like who you paid.
And don't forget, you're also, so it's just some background on this, is when you're preparing for training camp, a lot of it is the team services guy meeting with the managers and the coaching staff to talk about when are we flying here? When are we doing this? So a lot of the scheduling is actually made
during the summer.
No.
Oh.
Like
during training camp?
No. It's made by the coach. So a lot of Columbus's training camp would have been centered around the schedule Mike Babcock wanted to set. So when you then go and fire him, your team services people are scrambling because
you just dropped a nuke into their
basically the guy that they've been working all summer on the schedule with is now not there. Yeah. And they got to do this all over again. And I saw what Mike Brown in Vancouver had to deal with. And like some other people, like Marie in New Jersey and whatever. When things change at the last second, the amount of chaos that is caused is absolutely off the charts. So like I can't even imagine who the poor team services guy was. So they bring in Pascal Vincent, and what is the first thing he says on day one of note?
He goes, I think I'm going to play Patrick Laine, notorious like perimeter sniping winger at center. I think I'm going to try that out.
I remember when you sent me that
You didn't believe it.
And I was like, this is photoshopped.
You didn't believe it.
No, he did not say this. And I didn't believe it until I watched the press conference because I was like, there's no way he said this.
We were going to do a podcast, and we were prepping. I think even in here, it's one of our first podcasts that we were going to do. Might have been one of our last remote. I'm not sure. But I remember we were prepping kind of like live together. And I was like, oh, do you want to put in the fun thing about how Patrick Laine is going to play center? And you went, are you joking? Was it a joke? Are you joking? And I went, no. And I showed you the quote. And you're like...
I had to watch the press conference.
This is a real thing. This is not AI generated. Like I have to check. It's crazy. Obviously that didn't work. Now,
what? I'm shocked.
You know, who could have foreseen that a guy whose skills would suggest he cannot play center,
and he would be a great winger.
He would be a great winger because that's what got him drafted second overall. It's what got him 40 goal seasons. It's what made him a point per game player. No. Let's play.
By the way, that draft is wild when you think about it.
What,
Matthews at 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Laine, Puljujarvi, Dubois, Uelevi, nothing. Kachuk. Who also wouldn't be in Columbus if they had taken him second overall.
There was nothing after that? Was that the Coyote stripped pick?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
so
hilarious.
It went Matthews, Laine, Dubois, Puljujarvi, Uelevi, Kachuk at 6.
Hilarious.
And there were not even room. It was confirmed that the head scout of Vancouver wanted to take Matthew Kachuk.
As you should. He's a good player.
Now, he would have lost. He wouldn't be in Vancouver now anyways because Kachuk wants to play in the U.S. But, I mean, if you look at it.
You lost 6 years of Matthew Kachuk in Vancouver.
Columbus has had both Laine and Dubois. And
driven him out.
Yeah, Patrick Laine is a bit of a different story, and obviously, all the best to him. But playing a guy who's supposed to be a winger at center, is a genuine. That just tells me you might not know what you're doing.
And so, training camp, they scramble to get training camp together. Goes off. Now the thing about Columbus,
it goes off with no hitches.
No hitches whatsoever. But the thing about Columbus, though, is that they have a ton of young talent.
They've done a great job drafting.
They have.
Really great job.
Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson, even in the later
Corson
rounds.
Kuhlmans.
Yeah, Corson Kuhlmans.
Yegor Chinahov, who we literally didn't even know existed.
Adam Fantilli. All these guys. David Yurchek, as we talked about. They have a ton of young talent. Even other guys, he's maybe not the most talented guy in
Dmitry
the world.
Voronkov.
Dmitry Voronkov. Even a guy like Emil Bemstrom, guys like that. And so that'd be that's sort of a good situation for a coach to inherit, at least.
Yeah.
There's a ton of
and you have Zach Werenski. And now you have a blue line that
Damon
also
Severson,
has Damon Severson and bad Ivan Provorov.
Yeah. So what they do is instead of leaning into their young guys, they send Kent Johnson to the AHL. They healthy scratch him for the home opener. Kent Johnson.
Well, no. They sent Chinahov to start the season to the minors, and everyone was like,
they send
what?
him down to start the season. We go, what? That's weird. And then
they scratch Ken Johnson, and we were like, wait,
so
what?
There's no purpose of that. Then after that, a couple days later, they send Kent Johnson to the AHL, call Chinahov back up. Johnson goes and just destroys the AHL, basically.
He basically forces their hand. He had over a point a game in the AHL, and it was kind of like, this is ridiculous. What are we doing here?
Exactly. Meanwhile, Dmitry Voronkov, a very good player, a steal in the draft that they got.
Yeah.
They bring him over, and keep in mind he is a 23-year-old Russian guy. He doesn't know English. He comes over from Russia. This is his first step in a new land. like a foreign land. Imagine if they just dumped you in the middle of Russia and were like, go perform at the top of your abilities. He has no family here. He's single, so it's not like he brought his partner over, and they don't really give him any resources. They just say, here you are, show up to the rink every day, do your job. And so he goes, I'm homesick.
As one would be.
And that's when, only then, do the GM and the organization jump in. They go, oh, we're really gonna try and help him. Homesick, it happens. I'm Jarmo Kekalainen. I'm from Finland. I remember being homesick. We're gonna try and get Fedor Tutin in to sort of mentor him a little bit. We were hoping some of the Russian guys on our team were gonna mentor him a little bit.
And that's not happening. Why? What happened? Because you decided to trade for Ivan Provorov, who shouldn't be mentoring anyone. Probably shouldn't even own a fish.
Yeah. So stuff like that. On top of that, as the season progresses, the Columbus Blue Jackets suck.
Yes.
And the guy who they picked third overall,
who should probably not have been there at 3 to begin with.
But the guy who they picked third overall, one of the best prospects we've seen in a while, forward prospects, a center of the future. These centers like this don't come around very often. They decide, keep in mind, season's not going great. They're losing. Things suck.
His comparables in my draft model, were Jack Eichel-esque.
They decide to play Adam Fantilli on the fourth line wing. So guys who really have no bearing on the future can get some more ice time.
Awesome.
Great. Now Adam Fantilli, obviously freak accident, gets a laceration during the game.
But my favorite part about that was they were like, oh yeah, he's going to play fourth line and out of position. Mm-hmm. So that somebody could play second line center or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they put him up on the first line 2 games later and he scored twice. Yeah. And I was like, oh, weird.
Now, something that we don't even have initiated in our prep, Rachel, is while this is going on, they're basically having a Mexican standoff with their starting goaltender, Elvis Merzlikins.
Yeah.
Because buried in all this, and we didn't even put this in the prep because it just was another thing that we didn't even think of until now. Elvis Merzlikins obviously struggled mightily last year. He had 878 in 30 games last year.
Not great.
That might have been impacted by the fact that he saw his best friend die in front of him to save his own wife and his unborn child. But before, Elvis Merzlikins had put up some pretty good numbers beforehand. That's why he was signed. That's why he's making $5.9 million a year. That's why he's.
Yeah, when you watch, it's one thing. Obviously, TJ Brody's father passed away, yes. Brock Besser's, and we've seen it impact their performance. When someone legitimately dies to save you and your wife, that is an entirely different level of tragedy.
To be frank here, it fucks you up for a while.
It could screw you up the rest of your life.
It changes when an incident of that kind of trauma happens in front of you. It changes your brain chemistry. That's how trauma works. That's how grief works.
I'm honestly okay. So there is a part of me that wonders if the cannon in Columbus may be an issue.
Maybe not be a good idea. So for weeks, they made him their third goalie.
Awesome.
Which just doesn't make sense. Doesn't help anybody.
Literally no one. It tanks his value. It tanks his confidence. It doesn't treat him well.
It puts a black cloud over the organization because, like I said, I've been in companies, potentially the one I left earlier, where people aren't being treated well, or where you're trying to go by your business, but there's someone in particular isn't being treated well. That puts a damper on everything.
Yeah.
And so how are people supposed to go about the day? They all like Elvis Merzlikins, and they realize this guy's getting railroaded by the company. How's that going to help morale? He said
he did request a trade.
He did request a trade, and then they finally start him, and he plays very well. And then they interview him again after the game, and they go, "You seem angry." Well, he's like, "I'm angry."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Why are you? Who are you angry at?" And he goes, "I'll tell you that later." Basically, he's like, "I'll tell you that after I'm out of here." So they've alienated their starting goaltender, and then brings us to David Jiricek.
Yeah. So when you're in Columbus's position, you are not fighting for a playoff spot. Your priority needs to be your young players. So Patrick Laine, when healthy, needs to be up playing top line minutes. Your first line, when healthy, needs to be Adam Fantilli, Patrick Laine, and Johnny Gaudreau.
Absolutely.
And then your second line needs to be some faction of Kent Johnson, Yegor Chinahov, and somebody else.
Cole Sillinger, perhaps.
Or Boone Jenner.
Right?
And then Cole Sillinger can play third line center, so he's still insulated, but he's playing his natural position. when you are in the position Columbus is in, you need to be prioritizing your future. So on the back end, that means you're not trading for guys that have been issues in other places, and you're not playing veterans of a billion games so that guys like, I don't know, David Jiricek get blocked.
So, yeah, this is the story is that Jarmo Kekalainen very much does not want to say rebuild, and also with all of the moves that they made this basically the past 2 off seasons. They aren't rebuilding. They're trying to win, which makes this even sadder. But this
is embarrassing.
They are trying to win. They were supposed to take at least another big step last year. Instead, they finished 3rd overall in the draft, and now they're fighting for Mac and Celebrini this year. Things have not been going well. Something has gone wrong. Now you have David Jiricek. This guy is he is an NHL player right now. He is a very, very good player.
He would be the 3rd best defenseman on conservatively 12 NHL teams.
He has torched the AHL. He has torched every league, every level he's ever been at. And even in the minuscule minutes that the Columbus Blue Jackets have given him this year, he has done very well. In the game before they sent him down once again, and we'll get into the whole big sort of situation here, but the last time he played an NHL game was on January 9th. So almost exactly a month ago. It's February 5th today. But it was on January 9th. And it was against the New Jersey Devils. And, of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets lost 5-0. David Jiricek played 15:45 in that game. You know?
So, not an insignificant
but, he played almost 16 minutes in that game. He had 2 shots on goal. He didn't have any points, but he had 2 shots on goal. And he was an even rating.
So they lost 5-0.
And he was even.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that Andrew Peeke and Eric Goodbranson are playing.
Yeah, great.
So that David Jiricek can't. If anyone is going to try and look me in the face and tell me that David Jiricek is not a better option than Goodbranson or Peeke, I'm literally just going to joke or laugh at you. You can't say we're trying to win games and actively be playing 3 defensemen who are worse than David Jiricek, especially when Zach Werenski was out. There was no excuse. He would have been the best. There was a point where Zach Werenski and Damon Severson were both out with injuries, and you couldn't find consistent time.
You know who's out for injuries right now? It's Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, Adam.
Severson's back.
Well, Severson's back now. So, but at that time, it was Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, and Adam Boquist are all out. We're all out with injuries.
And you can't find room for David Jiricek.
Yeah. So David Jiricek, what happens is he makes after training camp, he gets called up around November, and after playing a couple games, Jarmo Kekalainen pulls him aside and says, it's the moment for any big or any young player, big or small, is go find a place. Which is good.
That means you've made the team. You can stay here. When the Leafs,
there's stability now.
Tavares took in Matthew Nyes and Fraser Minton, and then they sent Minton home, but they told Nyes to get a place. That means we're not sending you down.
Even if they did, he's in Toronto. It's fine.
But that means when you get told to get a place,
that means you're on the team. That means you
right. It's also a hell of a lot easier in downtown Toronto to get a place when you make $925K as opposed to $70.
Exactly. So you're right.
If you make $70,000, you basically can't live downtown.
Yeah. So I would have really loved someone to tell that to my old employer. Anyway, so they tell him to get a place, which is basically you made it, kid. Good job.
You made the team.
Go sign a lease, notoriously difficult things to break, and go spend money. And I know, obviously, he's making, in his ELC, it's $925,000, or $918 actually for him. Go spend money on an apartment every month.
Because you're going to be here.
With the exception that that's not going to be empty all the time. The very next week after they tell him this, they send him to AHL Cleveland.
I would have been like, I'm not going.
He is now living, and there were reports saying that he might not report. He eventually did. But he is now living in a hotel in Cleveland, and his apartment that he was told to buy by the GM in Columbus is empty now.
Awesome. So he's paying rent.
Yes, for a
place that he's not even living.
Yes.
The Blue Jackets should have to pick up the tab.
Absolutely. Now, he's so I want to read this. I want to read this thread because after he got sent down to Cleveland, and Aaron Portzline goes to interview him in Cleveland, and so David Jiricek talks to Aaron Portzline and goes, "I played good hockey in the NHL. I'm an NHL player right now. That's my opinion. that I should be in the NHL right now. I see guys from the same draft like Simone Nemec and Kevin Korchinski. They get a chance on the power play. They play a ton of minutes in the NHL. Those are different teams, so different situations, but I can compare with them. I just want to.
No, you absolutely can, because they didn't have Werenski in the lineup. He should be quarterbacking their power play.
But I can compare it with them. I just want a chance to play like that. They told me the last game was not good enough for me. This was on January 28th. I told them I don't think so, but that's your opinion. I was out of the lineup after that. A whole month now. It feels like I haven't played. The guy, and he says, the guys here in Cleveland, because Yurchek wanted to make it clear that he doesn't not like it in Cleveland. Like he doesn't want any heat to go on the guys on the Cleveland Monsters. The guys here in Cleveland are awesome. The coaches are awesome. It's fun to be here now because there's a lot of winning.
Dad!
There's a good energy, but still, this is not what I want, right? So it really does seem like David Yurchek is gearing up to request a trade. And guess what? Sorry for that noise, folks. His agent just happens to be Alan Walsh, who is notoriously
he's notoriously somebody that
bombastic.
Yeah,
go to the mat for his players. And David Yurchek, all this is happening. David Yurchek goes back to Cleveland. He plays over the weekend. In the game that he played, he scores 3 goals and 1 assist.
Solid. 4 points for a defenseman. No notes.
He has a 4-point night, including a hat trick as a defenseman. And, of course, Alan Walsh was in the arena to capture it all. Now, some insiders are weighing in. So they asked the coach. Aaron Portzline asked the coach. And Pascal Vincent, trying to downplay it a little bit, goes, I get it, My daughter wants her own car. She's 13 years old. It's the Amazon effect. Everybody wants it now.
Okay, so the difference there is your daughter's 13 and doesn't have a driver's license. David Yurchek is not 13 and has an NHL contract. He should be playing in the National Hockey League, Pascal. This is not hard.
Yes.
Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely nuts to me. Like, Nick Blankenberg, I can understand. David Yurchek, I cannot. He is better conservatively than 3 of their top 6. Conservatively.
Who's better than him?
Well, Werenski.
Like, obviously, but he's out right now. He's not in the lineup.
No, but I'm saying, even healthy, Werenski, Severson.
Let me read off the healthy players that are in their lineup right now. If my computer would let me.
We're going to play better or worse. Is David Yurchek better or worse than players currently on the Blue Jackets?
Yes, I'm going to read off the Blue Jackets their decor right now.
Okay.
And you tell me
if Yurchek is better or worse.
If Yurchek is better by saying better, or if he's worse by saying worse.
Okay.
Than these players. So obviously Zach Werenski.
Worse.
Okay. Damon Severson right now.
Worse.
So Yurchek is worse than him. Okay.
Yeah.
Ivan Provorov.
Better.
Eric Goodbranson.
Better.
Andrew Peak.
Better.
Jake Bean.
I don't have enough data on Jake Bean. I haven't watched him enough. I'm going to say probably better.
And then just for fun, because even though he's on injured reserve, Adam Boquist right now.
I would say he's the same.
Okay. So he's definitively worse than the top 2 defensemen, and that's it.
Right.
And we could even go deeper in saying Nick Blankenberg.
He's better than
Okay.
Nick Blankenberg.
There you go. So that's not great.
Nope, not ideal.
Then Elliot Friedman is calling this kind of it's been a loud season in Columbus, he says, and ownership is not like
kind of like Vancouver last year. It was loud all the time.
Every year there is a team that
last year there were 2. There were Ottawa and Vancouver.
That's true. But every year, conservatively, there's always a team.
This year it's Arizona and Columbus.
This year it's Arizona and Columbus. Frank Saravalli on his show for Daily Faceoff says the line, basically says things like, I can't believe what's happening. This is crazy. But then he ends off the hit by going, it's not that people don't want to play in Columbus. It's that people don't want to play in Columbus with this management group and coaching staff.
Which is interesting, right? Because it's like it's not that people don't want to play in Toronto. They didn't want to play for Mike Babcock. Mm-hmm. Or it's not that people don't want to play in Toronto. They don't like some of the media. Which, given some of the people in the media here, I do not blame them.
Yeah.
Just some of the stuff that is coming out of Columbus, like, we just spent half an hour talking about all of the missteps that they've done. And, yeah, like, I can't exactly blame them. Like, you've shown that you don't know how to handle young players. You've shown that you don't know how to develop. You've shown actually that you know how to drive players out.
Yep.
Like, this is just...
You've consistently done that through, like, every big star who has ever played for you has left when they can. And they've either left when they can, or, and this was an Aaron Portzline report 2021, I believe, that core that kind of upset Tampa, you know, that they wanted to stay, but the offers that they got weren't enough. Like, we're like, they were like, we can't, I want to stay, but I can't accept this offer. So every big star you've ever had has kind of like, has been there, wanted to stay, but through your kind of malpractice has left.
Yeah. All right. That's
tough, man. So
that's Columbus.
I just want to say, what's, like, to end this off, what is going to happen?
Well, I think they're going to lose their jobs.
You think Yarmo's gone? You think Pascal Vincent's gone?
Yeah. That's what I think is the almost only course of action here, right? I mean, it's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? And there's people in that front office that I think are really smart.
Absolutely.
Like Josh Flynn, I think, is a super underrated AGM.
Mm-hmm. Zach Urbach's a good scout.
Yeah, Zach Urbach's doing a lot of good analytics work.
Yeah.
So I think that there's pieces in that front office, but I mean, the guys at the top, like, enough.
Yeah.
It's enough now. And
they
usually, like, a GM gets one coach. We're on, like, coach like 5.
And if you scale it back,
right? Because it went Torts, Larson, Babcock,
and now Vincent. We're on coach 4.
Yeah.
And you think about it, Kekalainen's been there, I'm pretty sure, a decade now.
Yes.
One playoff.
Because he had been there 3.5 years already when I got hired in New Jersey, and I got hired in 2017.
Yeah. Well, he
so yeah, 2024.
Yeah. So and he's had one playoff series victory when he's there, and the only reason we remember that is because the Blue Jackets were so heavily unfavored, basically.
They were heavy underdogs.
They were such heavy underdogs because they were pretty like collectively like the worst team to make the playoffs that year.
Oh, by far. All right, let's go
into the PWHL report, Rachel.
There was a lot.
I was at the PWHL showcase.
Same.
It was awesome. The building was packed.
Tessa Virtue was there.
The hockey was great. Like, the building was packed and a buzz. It was fantastic.
Savannah Harmon had 5 points in that game.
Did. Yeah.
She was buzzing.
I found very funny that 2 different goalies on the same team, I believe it was Team Kloss, they both had an almost identical if you're a goaltender 10 the goal moment. They both gave the puck directly to an opposing player. One actually buried it, the other didn't, but very, very funny.
Toronto also had an outdoor practice at City Hall.
They did.
I thought that was pretty cool, and there was so much happening, like, around it. When I went to see it, a lot of the creators the NHL had invited were there. So, like, Coach Chippy, Jeremy from How to Hockey, Johnny Lazarus was there, Empty Netters, like, there was that. But then there were a lot of little girls there, and I thought that the creators and the PWHL Toronto girls did a fantastic job of interacting with everybody that was there. They signed autographs, they saw jerseys, they just did a really good job of making the little girls that showed up to see them have a fantastic time. Like, you could tell they went out of their way to do different things. And I just thought it was awesome. Like, I really liked that the NHL incorporated them in such a big, meaningful way.
Absolutely.
Where there was, like, stuff happening at City Hall all weekend. There was stuff happening at Scotiabank Arena all weekend. And the women were front and center. RBC did a thing with Marie-Philippe Poulin, Austin Matthews. Sarah Nurse was a huge part of everything that happened. Like, I thought it was great. And then it also came out that Soroya Tinker has been hired as the manager of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and community engagement
for the PWHL, which is
now
amazing.
She's gonna continue her role as, like, color commentator, which I'm not necessarily sure I agree with. Now it would be different because she's, like, doesn't play for the team, so as long as
it's fine.
As long as she keeps them separate, I don't.
She's a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's odd. But
it's just never happened before.
It's odd, but I think that she's so well qualified for this job that it would have been a mistake.
Yes.
To go elsewhere. Like, she's the executive director of the Black Girl Hockey Club. She started Black Girl Hockey Club Canada. Like, she started like that arm. And when she was at Yale playing hockey, she started Soraya Strong, which is a program for young women of color.
So like, just casually, she was at Yale.
Like, she has so much experience that I think, even though she is a broadcaster, and whether or not there is conflicting stuff happening there. One, I think it's fantastic that she's a woman of color on the broadcast. So, like, okay. Two, she has experience doing DEI stuff in hockey. Like, she's a personality. She has a podcast. Like, she's somebody that has lived and breathed it within hockey, and she can bring a lot of those experiences to help the PWHL be at the forefront of these initiatives, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I think it's a fantastic hire for the PWHL, and she's going to thrive in that role.
Absolutely. All right. Natalie Spooner is killing it on the goals front. 7 goals, leading the league.
She overtook Poulin.
She did. We were talking last week about how everyone counted out Marie-Philippe Poulin, who was there as well, and she got the biggest cheer.
She should,
because she's royalty. Natalie Spooner, we officially have a goals race here atop the leaderboard. We got Marie-Philippe Poulin and Natalie Spooner, 2 of the best to do it, battling it out. That's.
I'm looking forward to it.
And what's funny though is that we got a race atop the goals leader there, and yet the goaltending in the league has been wild. Actually
insane.
Why don't you hit me with some save percentages here, Rachel?
Okay, so Montreal's goaltending has been unhinged.
Yeah, you can't score against Montreal.
So Anne-Renee Desbiens has played 6 games, and she has a .930. Elaine Chuli has played 3 games. She has a .962. So what we're seeing a ton of low-scoring PWHL games, and it's because the goaltending is incredible. I mean, Corinne Schrader of New York has a .943. I believe there are 6 goalies with save percentages over .930. Toronto's goaltenders below .900. Of course. Why wouldn't they be?
That's what they're, like I said, they're officially a Toronto sports team by doing this. Hilarious.
But the goaltending has been incredible, and I did wonder this because the PWHL has like smaller teams, and you're combining the PWHA and the NWHL, the goaltenders, like the quality of goaltending has been off the charts, and I wondered if we were going to see kind of less scoring, and that's exactly what we've seen.
Yeah, been amazing.
But just absolutely incredible. I mean, to have Desbiens and Chuli as a tandem is absolutely incredible. Like, we're talking about national team level goaltending here. An embarrassment of riches, and that's why Montreal is atop the standings as well. So I think it's like Montreal, New York. Toronto's not doing too bad, actually.
Sacre bleu. Montreal is at the top of the standings.
I know.
All right, well, Rachel, that's been the PWHL report, and that is our podcast for today. We'll be back on Thursday, obviously. But before we're back on Thursday, we want you to subscribe to the YouTube, to the Twitch, to the Twitter,
the TikTok, because that's
TikTok.
where a bunch of you can follow us on Instagram. We're going to be doing a giveaway at some point, and it's going to be through TikTok and Instagram, Twitter. Like, it's going to be on our socials. So yeah, you're gonna have to check us out there.
And we also want to say that you should donate to Jumpstart by Canadian Tire. It's our charity. It's the podcast's charity of choice.
I got to do a bunch of stuff with All-Star related to Jumpstart this weekend, and that was a ton of fun.
And we love
seeing the smiles on these kids' faces. It's the best
because it allows economically disadvantaged children to play team sports that they otherwise wouldn't have to or wouldn't be able to, because sports are expensive these days. So it's something that's very, very near and dear to Rachel's and I's hearts. We don't share a heart. So I think you should, if you can, donate there. We have all the links and everything in the description of this episode. Until then, we will see you on Thursday.